here. His name pronounces the proclamation. For Elijah's name means, my God, Jehovah lives. And so when they announced that Elijah has arrived, Jezebel must have responded and said, who let your God in my house? And there Elijah on the doorsteps of the palace, representing the true and living God, Yahweh. For Baal speaks of a storm climate controlling God. The people, who worship Baal believe that Baal controlled the rain and the dew, that their vegetation and their lifestyle and their living came from the magic of this God named Baal. And when Elijah comes on the scene, we have these pieces of information about him. He's from Tishbe. You can't find it on the map. If you were to do a typological study, you couldn't find Tishbe. But we can imagine that if he's from Tishbe, near the territory of Gilead, that he's a rough, rugged man. He's a mountaineer of a fella. He's a Marlboro man. He chew tobacco. Yeah, that's him. He's a rough, leather-skinned man. And God brings him to the forefront of the desert plain. And he is a stand-up in the face of King Ahab and his queen Jezebel. This petticoat king would have to deal with this desert prophet as he stands and tells him face to face what thus says the Lord, Elijah's here. And he merely says one word to Ahab, that there'll be no rain or dew until my Dabah, Yahweh, speaks. End of sermon. It's his initial sermon, Sister Ruth, but you would think after going over with such an ecclesiastical splash and a prophetic preachment that God would open the door for Elijah to go other places and preach the gospel. But what you hear is, after he's preached, God said, you preach a little sermon there, Elijah. Now go hide. Have I got a witness? Remember now, he's from Gilead, a little town, Tishbe. He's rough and he's a rugged. He's a mountaineer man. He's rough cut. He's a Marlboro man. And God tells him to go hide. And it goes against everything that he stands for. It's against his constitution. It goes against his disposition. He's a prophet, and he already knows that prophets aren't made to hide. Elijah knows that prophets are meant to be on the main street. They mean to be out front in the mix of things. But God says, you preach, boy, now go hide. And when he tells him to go high, he says, go east of the Jordan to a place called Kerith. Have I got any Bible readers in here? He said, I have carved out a milieu for you. And I want you to go there, and where I'm sending you, don't be in a hurry to leave. Because I'm sending you there, and it's a difficult place, but the reason I'm sending you to a difficult place is to develop you. And I suggest this morning, and that's all I came to say, Brother Clark, is that God is sending us to some difficult places for one reason only, and that is to develop us for no other reason. For no other reason. He's sending us to a difficult place because there are some of us here this morning wondering why I am where I am and how did I get where I am, because where I am was not a part of my own orchestration. I had no plans being at St. John. Grand Prairie wasn't on my radar. I wasn't even trying to come to the Metroplex. I was doing good in New Orleans. East Texas was just fine to me. I don't know why I am, but it could be that God is sending you here to develop you. Have I got a witness in here? God sends him to a certain place. And he sends him to a place called Kareth. In the Hebrew, it's a verb. And it means to cut. It means to cut off and cut in and cut away from. It means to cut. God sent Elijah to a cutting place. For there were things in Elijah's character that needed to be cut off, needed to be cut in, and needed to be cut away from. But nonetheless, God has always constructed the character of the people who he wants to use the most. I believe I ought to have about 5 or 6 witnesses about right along up in here somewhere. You see, there are some of us who have the burdensome joy of what Dr. James Earl Massey called the burdensome joy of preaching. Dr. Ford, I suggest that many of us preachers have preached our best sermon. I'm not talking about some cute outline. And I'm not talking about 3 points and some subs. And funny, I'm not talking about who claps at the points they appreciate. But I'm talking about preaching a sermon that gets underneath the skin of the people. And it gets underneath the skin of the people because God has gotten underneath your skin. I'm trying to talk to somebody here.